Hello, gorgeous soul. Welcome to Susie's Enchanted Crossroads. I'm Susie, and this podcast helps you navigate your journey through the crossroads by taking a deeper look into witchcraft and spirituality. So settle in, grab your beverage of choice, and let's get this episode going. Hello, lovely, lovely, gorgeous soul. How are you doing today? I am enjoying an iced coffee. I am recording in the evening. It's after work time. I took the fattest nap. I am coming out of that lull from the 3-day weekend, and I do have to say that I have never slept so much, and it is exactly what I needed. Mind, body, and soul. My gosh, I needed that rest because as you've been on this journey with me, if you've been listening to the podcast since the beginning, May has been rough. It has been nonstop in my mundane job and my craft, and it's just been nonstop go, go, go from early morning hours all the way to the evening. So I really did need this little break. And I hope that you're able to enjoy your weekend in some capacity. I hope you're having a wonderful start to your week. And I'm hoping that you are utilizing what I spoke about in my last episodes into your practice. So, spoke on days of the week correspondences, and we did some color magic. I hope you're able, I hope it was easy enough and clear enough where you took the leap and have started doing it or implementing it, or maybe you are reintroducing it. So yeah, let me know how that's going for y'all. I'm not going to read any emails or questions that I did receive. I haven't received too many, so please don't forget that you can send me an email or shoot me a DM. At the bottom of the show notes, I have a link if you have any ideas that you would love to hear as far as topics or if you have questions. I did want to get right into it today and talk about how to write a spell and how to cast it. So that way it doesn't get too long this episode, but I did want to address one of the emails that I did receive, but I think I'm going to make that into a whole episode in and itself. But I did want to get into writing a spell and what even is a spell. So let's get into it. What is a spell? Well, spell is magic. And as I had in a previous episode, you, my gorgeous soul, are the magic. Magic is that focus of energy. And with that energy, you are giving it direction in whatever way that you want it to be casted, in which way that you want it to go. You are causing the change. Now, when you cast a spell or when you begin to write your own spell, it can be just to the universe, it could be to your higher self. You can invoke your ancestors and such, but the whole movement of energy and the change that you are creating or focusing on to create is what brings this spell to life. So, the spell in itself can be a one-time deal. It can become a whole ritual. So, not sure if you can hear this, but like I said, I have my iced coffee. All right, stirring her up a little bit. And I might have stated in a couple of episodes that I have my rituals every morning. Every morning I cast, a protective circle. Every morning I ground. And every morning I do cast a spell with my coffee. And I say the same thing all the time. And I use one of the symbols and I add symbols depending on how I wake up that morning or what the day is going might bring if I already know ahead of time. Like if I know I'm going to have a meeting, if I know it's going to be a long day, if I know it's going to be something eventful, I will add a little bit of spice to it. But other than that, if it's just a regular old day, I do the same thing every single day. So that spell that I created has become my ritual. And you may do things that you don't even realize as a spell and a ritual. I will tell you that growing up Catholic, every time we passed a church, I would always see my grandmother and my mother bless themselves. And they would say like a little prayer to themselves, not really out loud. And I had picked up that habit unknowingly, right? I was watching it young and I started doing it. Nobody told me how to do it. Nobody said I had to do it. I just picked it up. And there isn't a spell, a prayer, I'm sorry, that goes along with it. And I would just said whatever came into mind or thought whatever came into mind. And that's what I did. It became my own little ritual with an attached prayer or an attached little spell, right? Not really a spell because I was praying like to a deity, right? I'm praying to God. Watch over me as I drive to my destination or keep me safe or whatnot. And I guess that's the difference, right? If we're going to look at the difference just really quickly between um, prayers and spells, right? So with the prayer, you are speaking to like a deity, like a higher power than yourself normally. And it's of either gratitude or, you are asking of something um, that you need assistance on. The spell is your magic and you're enforcing the change, right? Um, but prayers can involve magic or spells, and spells can involve deity or praying to deities. So not that they're not interchangeable by any means, but they do have that slight, very slight difference. Just depends on how you look at it. Maybe that's something I should dive a little deeper on later, but I really do want to get into how to do this. Because I'm sure if you are a baby witch or you've been with me since the beginning, you wanna start. You wanna get going. Okay, so before you start, I want to reiterate that there might be some roadblocks or maybe some barriers that you may come across, which will mm, where your spell may not be as successful. And here are the things: thinking that you're not doing it right or that you did something wrong. I myself, as an I would say an experience, which that is where we get our own selves, like we get in our own way. You can't do this wrong. Okay. There's not like, oh, I forgot the chamomile flower, so this is not gonna work. Or I don't have any black salt, therefore I cannot do this. No. This is where you research ahead of time, which I'm going to get into it. But if you are doing this spell and you start getting into your own head and getting a little bit of imposter syndrome, like, who am I to be casting this spell? It's probably not going to work. And you start down that cycle, then that's going to be a barrier that your spell is, instead of having open roads, you're giving it a few speed bumps before it gets to its destination. Okay, so you can't do this wrong. You are the magic. So, however it is that you are going to practice your craft, you can't do it wrong. Now, do we have to stay in our own lane and we're not tapping into other cultures, closed practices? Okay, then yes. Okay, you don't want to be doing that. And that's where I really get into you have to know what you're doing ahead of time. Okay. Having this preconceived idea of what the spell and doing witchcraft is, right? Which I had already talked about a little bit before, but we want to get out of like the thought of like the Hollywood. Your spell does not have to be super elaborate. You don't have to buy all the things, as I stated before. Everything you need is probably already in your house. You might have to get a little creative, or you can get it at the Dollar Tree. Legit. Like, you don't need a whole bunch of stuff. And I'll get into that. Not getting into your own flow. And this goes back to the imposter syndrome, where maybe you're in it and then all of a sudden, oh man, I lost track, or um where's the matches because you weren't prepared, and maybe even freaking yourself out, especially if it's your first go around, even if this is your 100th go around. Sometimes we can take ourselves out of it if we're really into our spell and we're, chanting and we have this rhythm and we're really feeling that energy and something just happens where it takes you out like, oh shit, what? Um, it happens, not to say that, oh, now your spell is trash and you have to start all over. Acknowledge it and be like, oh shit, I am doing the thing, and then get back into it. It's where we have that negative self-talk. We want to steer away from it. And also not doing the work that comes after the spell. So if you're sitting and doing your spell and you want a promotion at work or you want a new car, you can't just expect to get a new car dropped off in the front of your house. That would be great, right? However, the universe does not work that way. So you have to put in a little effort as well. Now, whatever the spell and incantation was, if you are looking, for a new car that's not going to be a gas guzzler, that you can have the freedom to go to and from work without having a carpool, then the way that you can help your spell out is start looking at how much used cars are, or looking at cars that do not guzzle so much gas. How you can pay it forward if you did receive a car, right? If you were carpooling, maybe you could help somebody out in that aspect. Whatever it is, you have to be able to help out your spell afterwards. Okay. Oh, and jotting it down. That's the last thing. Sorry, I was looking at my notes and jotting it down. That way, if it's a one and done, cool. However, this is going to be something that you want to do more often than not. Keeping a little grimoire, a little journal, really, really helps out, which I'm going to get into that deeper in my notes. All right. So those are the things. What is that? 5 things-ish that can maybe kind of have a little barrier if you're starting this. So just relax. You are doing your magic, you're doing your craft, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Unless you're doing not smart things like participating in a closed practice. All right, here we go. Spells and the words, understand that words make an impact, right? Words can build a person up, and words can cast somebody down. The power of words can make you cry, can make you fall in love, can break your heart. Those words written and then said aloud can make great change. Now, when you start to think about the spell that you want to cast, you can use one that is already pre-made. However, I do invite you to create your own spell. You don't have to be a world-renowned poet. You don't have to be, I don't know, a fancy writer. You just be you. Now, your spell can rhyme or it doesn't have to rhyme. Your spell can be short and sweet or it can be long. That's totally up to you. People do enjoy a spell when it rhymes because it gives it some sort of beat and a rhythm. So you're holding this beat and this rhythm, right? This flow, this energy, and it just really gets you into your incantation. If it draws your focus, it can ground you. So sometimes that rhythmic vibe that you bring into your writing, that's why people enjoy it. When we speak things out into existence, it has the power. So now it's going from paper, and you are either speaking it out loud or even in your mind, right? Silently. And think about this. A lot of people do this when it is your birthday and you are silently making a wish and blowing out a candle. Magic all right there, baby. So you've probably been doing this many, many years, majority of you listening out there. And if we look at words, right? And we listen to somebody, or when we hear ourselves say them out loud, think about how it moves you. When you read, I don't know, a piece of poetry or an excerpt from a book or a quote that really just resonates with you and you hear it out loud, it moves you. Doesn't always have to be positive or perfect. Doesn't always have to be positive. Maybe it moves you in a way where it like pisses you off, but it still moves you. If you take the lyrics to your favorite song and you just read them out loud, it moves you. Then you add, right, all the instrumentals and all of that, and then it like that in itself, then it really gets you going. So just remember that words make an impact, and that's why spells work. And like I said, you can create your own or use one that's already out in existence. So when we start, you have to set your goal. What is the purpose? What is the intention here? What is it that you want, that you're putting your energy into? And you have to be ever so specific. You cannot just say, I mean, you could say, let me rewind. You can say these things, but when you don't have specificity in your spell, right, and what you are casting, you can't be upset when it doesn't come exactly as you wanted it. So, if you're tired of your job and you desperately want a new job where you're going to be happy and be paid more, and that's all you do, you did a candle ritual, bada bing, bada boom, you're searching and you go through interviews, you get the call back, and congratulations, you're hired. But the job is in 2 states over, and you got to move in order to get this job that you wanted. Now, if you're good with that, like maybe you needed a whole fresh change, whatever. But if you were looking because you have your own house, your kids are going to their perfect school, whatever, you love your neighborhood, you don't want to move, then that puts a little kink in the chain, doesn't it? Because you have this job that's ideally perfect that you set a spell for, but you weren't specific. So you must be specific. And write your spell ahead of time. And the reason I say this is that way you can either write it in the moment where you are just feeling it, but then you give yourself a chance to reread it, say it out loud, and tweak it here and there if need be. Plus, you can either rewrite it so it's nice and neat, or give yourself time to memorize it. You don't have to memorize your spell. Or maybe you type, print it out, or maybe however it is, it's presented in a way where you're going to have your flow and your flow is not going to be interrupted. Write in, usually you are writing in present tense, right? Like if you're manifesting, well, you don't really want to put words like, I would like, or I hope to. No, no, no. We speak in present tense. I will find a job where I am happy, I am respected, I am paid well, and the environment is chef's kiss perfect. It's no farther than 10 miles from my house. I have the freedom to be with my family, and my creativity grows leaps and bounds. Perfect. Cool. None of it rhymed. But as you write that down, you can go back and maybe add something here and there. But we are talking in the present tense. You will find it in this lifetime where you can stand in your power and whatever it is that you want and desire. Then we're going to look at timing. So, previous episodes, I talked about the days of the week and correspondences. Um, whatever it is that you are manifesting, if you want to do a spell where your relationship with your significant other is strong and rooted and you continue to respect and love each other equally. Great. Maybe that would be a wonderful spell to do on a Friday. And you get all those correspondences. You can look to the moon, what phase of the moon. So a lot of people like to use the full moon and the new moon to do spells and rituals, but there are so many other phases of the moon that you can use. You can even look at timing as seasons as well. So, time of the day, whatnot, where you're at, by your next birthday, whatever, what have you. Then we look at timing. Then you want to make sure that you have your materials, right? So, you wrote your spell, you know the goal, the intention, you've done everything that you needed and you're ready, right? Or you're gearing to get ready. So you're going to get your materials. What do you need for this spell? What kind of spell is it? Usually paper and something to write with is helpful. Maybe you want to use some crystals. Is this a candle spell? Are you going to need moon water? Are you going to need herbs? Fire, poppets, whatever you may need, right? But you don't need to have all of those things like jars and especially if you're just starting out. Spells can rely heavily on a symbolism, so you just might need a little bit of creativity. As I stated before, maybe you're wanting a new car or a car that can get you to A to B without any headache and without breaking the bank, right, with gas or anything like that. And maybe you're walking down the toy aisle and maybe your kids have a Hot Wheels car. Use that in your spell. If you are doing a road opener, keys. Any spare keys you got lying around the house. Keys. Shoes. Sometimes if you are doing like an abundance spell for money, or you're doing a little bit of baneful magic, right? You can use the shoes and put the name of the person on the bottom of the shoes and then walk all over town and maybe, you know, just be thinking about it intentionally, you know? And you can use mirrors, thread, all kinds of things. Nothing really is off limits. Just be very careful with what you're using, obviously. And thinking how is this going to go from start to finish, right? Especially if you're new, but even if you're not, let's say you're already a seasoned practitioner and you are going to up the ante and you're going to do an elaborate spell. You want to make sure that you are in the place to do so. So, taking yours truly here, I did a community candle spell and I did it live on Instagram, and, clients would pay their fee, send me their intention. I would tweak it a little bit, and I had all my herbs and my candles, and I was burning the intention because one of the moon phases was coming up, and I was going to throw that ash out into the universe to be taken. And there we go. Well, I did it indoors and I was doing it in the room that I'm recording in, and I set off my smoke alarm. Didn't think of that until I was like, it's getting a little foggy up in this room, and there went the alarm. So, are you gonna do the spell indoors? Is it gonna be outdoors? That's why I was saying, are you gonna use fire? Please, fire safety and all those things. Especially if you're doing something that's going to be where you're using fire, you want to make sure that I don't care how long you've been practicing, you want to have something around you that could extinguish a fire very quickly because we don't want to hurt ourselves. Casting your circle, cleansing yourself, grounding yourself, all that good stuff, which if you need, I have an episode, a few episodes back if you need to know how to do all that. Then are you going to be calling in any help? So, are you calling in any guides, any deities, any infernals? Is it just to the universe? Is it just to your higher self? Who are you invoking or not? It's just good mindful things, and that's also going to help you with writing your incantation, right? Writing your spell. So, if you are asking for the guidance of your ancestors, you would actually write that into your spell. And let me see your energy. Oh, the beautiful thing about writing your own spell is that you put all of your energy from beginning to end. You are creating this from the ground up. And that adds more oomph into your spell. But again, using a pre-made spell, there's no shade in that. There's absolutely no shame in it. I'm not throwing shade at it. Sometimes it's a great way just to get your foot in the door to keep, to pick a left or right at the crossroads, right? Because I would rather you take a spell found online, do your research though, do your research. And if it feels good, if it feels like a fit, then use it. Maybe you like parts of it and you're like, "Ooh, I can add my own flavor, my own flair here. I would add this, I would take away this." And then it becomes your own and it gets you comfortable in continuing to do and writing your spell. And let me see, work your spell, find your rhythm. Oh, yes. Okay, so you are ready, right? You're like, here we go. It's the waxing moon. I am ready to do this incantation. Kids are in bed or what have you. I have the space to myself. I have my candle ready to go, my herbs. I have my spell written down or memorized, and I'm ready to go. So once you're ready to go, you do what you do. You cleanse yourself and ground yourself, however you do so, either by taking deep breaths, calling in protection. You have a protection bubble around you and the space. Let me see. Calling in any ancestors, guides, or your higher self, or however you're doing this. And you begin. And it takes, you have your focus and you have the rhythm in things that you're doing. So you are doing this mindfully. And maybe you watch the candle go all the way down till it's burned out. Maybe you are focused and you're going to repeat this spell every day of the week. And you say it, you invoke, you do what you need, you maybe light the paper on fire and you put in a fire safe dish and you say thank you, blow out the candle, and then do it again the next day. However, it could be as easy as a freezer spell, right? You have all the person's information, you have your container, you have water, herbs if you need it, and you're writing leave me alone or whatever it is, folding it away from you counterclockwise, throw the paper in the water in the container, and throw it in the freezer, and you call it a day. Welcome. I love a freezer spell is like the easiest spell, and it's good. It's good. One of my favorites. So you're focused and you're good on it. Then think about how you are going to close out. And you can say anything. You can close it, thanks to the universe or to whomever. You can say, and so it is, or because I will it, or so mote it be, whatever feels in the moment to you. You can try all of them until you feel a good fit. And then you close out and you sit with it for a while and maybe even catch your breath. Hey, you did a spell. Way to go. And then you clean up your space. So, cleaning up after you, how are you disposing of things? If you are using salt, please don't put that back into the earth. You're going to have to toss it, and that's completely okay because if you put anything that is not local to your area, and salt especially, will just really kill and mess up all the stuff in nature in the ground. So you don't want to do that. You could throw away wax or put it in a sachet, keep it, put it in a jar, however you want to dispose of it, whatever the case is. So you want to go ahead and clean your area and clean the space up. And as I said before, write it down, take note, evaluate. How did it go? And it doesn't have to be right then and there. It could be the next day. But while you're in it, it's okay to take a few notes, right? How are you feeling that day? How was the day leading up to this spell? Um, is there anything you would change? Is there anything that came up? And you're going to continue this. And as time passes, did it work? What do you think happened? Either positive or negative. If it didn't work, what do you think happened? Were there any barriers? Did you get into your own head? Did you have a timestamp? Because if you asked for a new car and you weren't specific, maybe you're gonna get it and you were hoping to get it within the month, and then all of a sudden, 5 months later, you get a car. And you're like, well, shit. That's why I'm saying you gotta be specific. So after the time has passed, that's where we're looking at our spells and how did the spell hold up? And are you redoing this? Is there a ritual to this? Is it every full moon? Is it every Thursday? Is it every 15th of the month? Whatever. And take note of every time you do it. Did you add anything? Did you take away? What was the environment like? What was happening in the cosmos? All of that good stuff, you want to note it and write it down. That way you can look back and be like, oh shit, I did this a little differently. And on this one, I called in the elements. And the first time I did it, I didn't call in the elements. And this time around, instead of asking um my great grandmother ancestor, I ended up asking I don't know, Hecate for more of that guidance because I felt like I needed more of that tough love or whatever, what have you. Because as you move on and you start researching in your craft, you're gonna learn things, right? And you're gonna start implementing other things into your craft. And then that's when we're playing with, ooh, this one is a short and sweet. This is what I really needed. And this one is like, ooh, I want this one to be a good one. It's going to be long. I'm going to wear this. I bought this robe and I'm going to put it on and it's going to be the super pink moon. And that is the day where I'm going to renew the love for myself and I'm going to buy this robe and adorn myself in this, luxurious oil. And you write this incantation and you go outside and maybe you, I don't know, dance underneath the moon and you're just like feeling yourself. And as you come into the house, you draw yourself a luxurious bath just for yourself. And as you close it out, maybe any non-loving energies or stagnant energy that was within you, it goes down the drain. And then how did you feel? And then the next day and all the way up until the next super pink moon. I'm telling you guys, oh, I just get excited about this stuff because this stuff about this, especially writing your own spells, it's just, it really makes you feel that much more connected into what your craft is. And sometimes you do it on the fly. That's why I'm saying you do not need to have an elaborate setup. Something may happen, and it could be for yourself, or maybe someone reaches out to you and you're like, I got you. And you don't know how you do it sometimes, and you are being guided, and you ask to be guided, and you literally go to your, I don't know, to your space or go to your kitchen and on a plate you have a white candle and cool or whatever, and you anoint it with olive oil and you put rosemary on it and you just say, you carve the person's name on it and you were asking for protection of this person, whatever, or for them to have ease in something that maybe they're going through that's weighing heavy on them. May it be released or they find some kind of release so that way they can have a chance to breathe or catch their breath or find what they need. And you literally just are sitting there, you cast a little ring of salt around the candle and you're just using your hands and your energy and you're just saying it over and over again. You're picturing the person in your mind. You have their name on the candle and you're just working it and working it and working it. And then when it's done and that's it. It doesn't take a lot. It doesn't. And that's where I'm saying that that's where if you start getting into your own head, like, oh, who am I? And oh, I mean, it's just these three things. Like, really? That can't just be it, We get stuck in what we see on social media and what we think witchcraft is. That's why it's one of the things I told you. It's one of the blocks you can create for yourself because you have this preconceived notion on what a spell is and what witchcraft is. Right. And it's cool. Yeah. Practical magic and the craft, that's all cool. Like, don't get me wrong. It can look very similar, but sometimes that might not be the vibe. And it, it, you need more of the simplicity. And don't be hard on yourself. We are all learning this craft. Be open. You're listening to this podcast. Thank you so much. And as you're listening, you're jotting things down. Maybe you're thinking, ooh, what if I add like divination to it? Fuck yeah, I use some tarot cards. I didn't even put that in my notes, right? But you can most definitely do that. Use that. If you are needing to focus and stay on path, use in within your hard work and having that willpower, you can use the strength card, you can use the Eight of Pentacles. If you're hoping for things to go quickly, the Eight of Wands. It's endless. Even using ground coffee, instant coffee in the spell, because that speeds it up. And I did need to mention that if you are, I mean, regardless, even if you're just, talking to the universe or to your higher self, I would leave an offering. And the offering is here's some water. Here is some water to, this is what I'm offering you to help assist me in the spell. Thank you, universe. Thank you to my higher self. Thank you, ancestors, guides, whoever, whomever, or whatever. And no one has to know. You can say, I'm leaving this glass of water is specifically for you, but I'm going to leave it right here on the kitchen table and no one's going to be the wiser. And then when it's done, you can either water a plant with it or water yourself with it. That's all I have in my notes. I could talk about this forever though. Like I am maybe drinking coffee at 8:30 in the evening was not was not wise. It's not my first order. I've done this many times before. It's not going to keep me out. If anything, it's going to help me get probably some good sleep. So, you know what? This is a good place to stop. You are the magic. Don't ever forget that. Don't get into your head. I know it's easier said than done, but I'm excited for you. I'm so excited for you to write your spell down and to gather your items and to do this spell and it comes to fruition. I love that for you. I want to see you thrive. I want to see you succeed. The whole point of Susie's Enchanted Crossroads is for me to help you through the crossroads, help you navigate through this journey. It's a beautiful journey. And sometimes we can get stuck. That's okay because we want to make sure we're doing it right. But gorgeous soul, don't don't let that stop you. Just like I said before, there is no like right time to start. Just start. Just start. Tomorrow when this drops, it'll be Wednesday. What are the correspondences for Wednesday? Check it out. The colors. What do you want to bring in? What's happening this weekend? Could you do a spell this weekend ahead of time on a Saturday, Saturn day, or a Sunday? I mean, it's endless. It really is. So, I want to hear from you. What kind of spells are you doing out there? You don't have to be specific. Oh, that's another thing. Oh my gosh, I completely forgot about this. Do not, or I advise for you not to, post all of your spells online. Let me tell you why. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I almost forgot this. The reason being is if you're doing like a protection or warding spell, or you are doing a spell to bring in extra income or money, and you're posting that out there, someone that doesn't want to see you succeed or do better than them could immediately throw you the evil eye or do a counter spell on that, just depending on, your circle. So, even if you are a seasoned practitioner, I know some of y'all know better, but sometimes we forget. If we, like, for example, if I'm teaching, right? Like I said, every morning I have the same ritual with my coffee, but you don't know everything that I'm doing. You don't know when I do the ritual with my coffee. It's every day. But you don't know what time in the morning, you don't know who I'm invoking, you don't know specific symbols that I'm using. So if I'm teaching you, right, I can show you and tell you the correspondences for each item, each thing being used, but I'm not showing you exactly what I am using. Therefore, you cannot counter against it, right? Also, I have my own words and things up, so that's what I taught you in the previous episodes. So, when you see things online, sometimes you're not seeing all of its entirety, or The practitioner has often used something else in there without telling you, or they might say, and then I added my own little thing here and there, or you don't know their specific words to the spell. If they are teaching you how to do something like, let's say, a freezer spell, there a freezer spell and things like that, that's you can look those up anywhere. There are certain spells like I said, you can look up a spell already done, but like a freezer spell is an oldie but goodie. So you can use that and you'll see other practitioners showing people how to do that, even like an egg limpia, how to do it and crack the egg in the water and all that good stuff. But if you're doing a specific spell that is for you and what you want, I wouldn't put all the information online for everyone to see because you want to keep that sacred, you want to keep that protected. Phew. I'm gonna take a sip of coffee because I can't believe I almost forgot that tidbit. Okay. Now I want to hear what y'all are thinking of. If you are thinking about a money spell or a spell for restful sleep or against nightmares, safe travels, anything. I would love to know. If you have questions, please hit me up at Susie's Enchanted Crossroads at gmail.com. You can find me on the socials. I'm on TikTok at Enchanted Crossroads or on Instagram. I am Susie's Enchanted Crossroads, and you can shoot me a DM. Again, if you have any questions and it's easier, you're already here. There's links at the bottom in the show notes, and you're going to get a form. Just fill that puppy out, and I will get it. And yeah, I'll read it. Please let me know if you would like me to say your name or username out loud. If you don't specify, then I'm going to keep you anonymous, which is okay. No worries if you forget. I just want to shout out people if you want to be shouted out. And I believe that's it. Actually, when this drops, you will have just a few more days to sign up for my Phoenix Rising program. This program is to help you get in tune and in touch with your inner child. I help you really listen to that inner child and what that inner child is needing or seeking. Also, how to basically do your own spell work. We're going to get very specific. I offer Reiki with this. You will have a very small little group because I do want to extend that out and heal the sister wound for sure. And also because I will be giving my energy to this group, and I didn't want a big, massive group. But I think I am willing to extend this to at least a few more people. Hopefully, I'm not overextending myself. But yeah, I would love to have you. It's a 3-month program. You have a one-on-one with me, personalized Reiki, group Reiki. We do journaling and spell casting and meditation. It's a wonderful thing to have, especially when we finish up. You will be pretty much set and grounded by the time the holidays roll around. So, Phoenix Rising, gorgeous soul, we're going to take you and see you soar out of the ashes. All right. Well, have a beautiful rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening. And until then, I will see you at the crossroads.